Well, hello and welcome to the Business by Referral podcast. This is Virginia Muskis, the Referral Diva, your host. And today I am with someone who is near and dear to my heart. Hank Jardine is a home inspector specializing in helping first-time home buyers get the house of their dreams and make sure they don't get nailed in the process, I think. Matt and Hank have been helping buyers and sellers alike for 12 and 16 years, respectively, and both have experience in the termite industry and the construction industry, and they are also ASHI certified inspectors. They work in St. Charles and St. Louis counties here in Missouri, as well as in Jefferson County. And those are terrific areas for them for inspection. So if you're listening from the St. Louis area, Hank's the guy to know for home inspections. Hank's office is a family-owned and operated business right here in metropolitan St. Louis. And Hank is also a member of the BNI MidAmerica Above and Beyond team, holding, I don't know how many seats he holds. And he may or may not know this, but I consider Hank to be an integral member of my personal advisory board. And he is one who gives me great wise counsel. And so I'm excited to bring Hank to all of you so you can learn a little bit about him and hear his message and his take on how to build a business by referral. So, Mr. Hank Jardine, thank you for joining us today on the Business by Referral podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
It is my pleasure.
So right now you're a home inspector, and before we talk about home inspection and how you use business by referral to build that business, can you share with the listeners just a little bit about your personal history, background, where you're from,
Sure.
What kind of businesses have you done? Because I know you've had a really rich history in building business. So
I've had a couple. I'm actually from Seattle, Washington. Moved to Des Moines, Iowa when I was relatively young. I had a small business there. I sold shoes door to door. My real first jobs, however, I went to work at a bar for, I think it was 9 months.
mm-hmm.
I actually owned the bar for 9 months. And then when I got shot, I decided I better get out of it.
Oh, wait. When you got shot, like shot with a gun shot?
Yes. I decided it wasn't as safe as I thought it was.
You think?
So I decided to go work at the penitentiary just down the street.
Oh, because that was
much safer.
Oh.
Yeah, that was much safer. You know, when I got stabbed, I decided that wasn't such a good idea. So after I decided to do that, I moved to California, went to work for a company called Terminix, which is a nationwide termite and pest control company. That was in a long time ago. That was in '76. I went to work for them. I was a sales trainer. I was a sales manager. I was a branch manager. And in the 27 years that I was actually in that company, I roamed the country. I was an actual sales trainer from Maine to California, from Washington to Florida. I was lucky enough to move around and train a lot of people. My forte at that time was being able to show people how to make a living selling termite or pest control. After that, I decided that I really didn't want to do that anymore. They were changing the company. The company got purchased by another company, and it was time for me to decide to do something else. So I went to work for myself. After we moved to St. Louis in 1999, worked here for a couple of years for Terminix, and then decided to buy my own company. And really, that's how I got to St. Louis. That's how I got to work in the home inspection business. I bought a franchise, a really good one. It was called Amerispec, owned by the same company that I was working for at the time. So I actually got a discount to buy it. So I thought, well, very small money down, monthly payments are easy to make, and a business partner and I went for it. Then 5 years later, I bought my partner out and sold it to my son and to my wife. So I was out of the ownership at that time. And then 10 years later, we decided that we would sell the franchise back. And that's how we became Jardine Home Inspections. I didn't have to pay any franchise fees. I didn't have to pay any extra money. The money's all mine. So it's my son and myself, like you said. And with that, my wife is the bookkeeper. I do the marketing, which is what I like. And that's how I got to meet a place called BNI.
Mm-hmm.
In 2003, I went to a meeting with a gentleman by the name of John Suarez.
Oh, yeah, John. I know him well. Yeah.
Great guy. He was doing a kind of, let me show you what BNI is, see if you want to join. And I, being a smart aleck, John asked me what I thought about networking. I told him the truth. I thought it was just a load. And he said, well, apparently BNI is not for you.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to take your leave.
Yep.
Well, a week later, the gentleman called me back, asked me to come in again. And this time I actually listened to him. When he was explaining what BNI really is, not what I thought it was, it just made a lot of sense to me to build my business using a whole organization that is built on that premise. Before BNI, it was all me going door to door to all the real estate offices that I could get into and deliver candy. That was my gig. But once I found BNI, it was so much easier to say, get up in a meeting and say, I'm actually looking for Deb Bronze, a real estate agent down in Jefferson County.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because at that point, somebody in every meeting said, I know that person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me make an introduction for you. That was so much easier than driving to every single real estate office in St. Charles or St. Louis County.
You know, that was my story too, right? That I was like, hi, I'm Virginia. I'm with Mary Kay, and I make it my business every single day to select 5 sharp women to try our Mary Kay products. And today I've selected you to try this amazing lipstick that will really look great with that dress. Can I get your number?
Mm-hmm.
And some lady was like, no, but if you come to my BNI meeting, I'll introduce you to all of them. And you can give those samples out to 10 ladies, and then they can give samples out to all their friends. And I was like, wow, that beats stalking women in the post office.
It's so much easier.
So much better, right?
It was actually cheaper. I was buying a lot of candy.
Yeah, you were. So I've now, you know, you've heard of sort of like cold calling, and I talk about Elmer Fudd marketing. Are you my client? Shh, I'm hunting clients. Yep. Right? Or are you my mama marketing? Are you my client? Are you my client? Well, now I got a new one. It's called hard candy marketing.
Yeah.
Hard candy marketing. That's when you go door to door and drop off candy. I like it. Not nearly as effective as BNI. So I'm going to add that to my
not quite.
Not quite.
Not quite.
So Hank, you know, you've built a lot of businesses, and you've done it the direct marketing way, the direct prospecting way. You've done it by referral. What for you was the biggest challenge in making the switch, like taking the leap and saying, okay, you know what, enough of this. I'm in it. If it is to be, it's up to me. I'm in it all by myself. I'm going to go knock on doors because like I can control if I'm knocking on doors, to going into a system where you begin to trust and rely on other people to get it done for you. It's like the entrepreneur's conundrum all the time, right? Like we're control freaks. We like to do it ourselves. We believe no one can do it like we do it. And then you find out that you get bottlenecked, but you know, you get a cold and you're bottlenecked. You get, you know, the stomach flu and you're bottlenecked. Your kid breaks a leg and you're bottlenecked. You want to go on vacation and you're bottlenecked. And so at some point you have to scale. And BNI to me is it's like the first step from going from solopreneur to entrepreneur, from going to self-employed to preneur or anything, is that. So what were some of the challenges that you experienced making the transition, and how did you finally get over that hump? Was it mindset? Was it activity? What was it?
Well, I tell you, it was really kind of tough in the very beginning to really understand what BNI was. I got the system. I didn't have control over everything, and you're right. I'm kind of a control freak. My wife will tell you that. It was really tough in the beginning to really understand that I don't control the whole thing. All I control is one piece of it. And then I found that if I trusted somebody in my chapter, there's a gentleman by the name of Matt Shellman, by the way. He was in my original chapter. Great guy. I sat down with him and he kind of explained to me how it worked. I said, all right, what have I got to lose? I mean, I've already paid my money. I might as well get something out of it. So I started talking to the real estate agent in the chapter. And I started talking to another insurance person. And the more I talked to them, the more I learned. And I learned about them, and I learned what they needed. For me, I'm kind of I don't know, I hate to use the word, but I'm a giver. It's so much easier for me to give you something.
Yeah, well, that's the very nature of BNI, right? I mean, if you're not a giver, you're just not going to make it in the whole scheme of, and I got to be honest, like, if you're going to make it anywhere in life, period, with any sense of integrity and joy, you're going to have to do it with some other people.
Yeah, at some point, somebody's got to get in the boat with you.
Yeah.
Because if you're only rowing on the left side of the boat, you're going to go in a circle.
Correct.
Now you get somebody on the other side, for example, the real estate agent, in my case, because I'm a home inspector. I started going straight in that boat and starting to really understand what it was that I could do to help somebody else in my chapter. Not only that, the people in my chapter could help my clients. And that was a huge thing for me because that differentiated me from my competition. I had people for every single problem in their home, from pest control to foundation stuff, from insulation to insurance. I mean, it just made a lot more sense to me, and it took me, a good guess is probably 6 or 8 months before it really dawned on me.
Yeah.
I'm kind of slow, and I'll actually say I am. But once I caught on, Virginia, this has been the very best marketing tool I've ever used. I mean, I've done everything from, when I was with Terminex, I was the manager of getting the word out, if you will. I was the marketing guy for 2 entire regions.
Yep.
When I moved to the corporate office, I did the same thing. This was so much easier.
Well, and I've seen, I've even seen you, Hank, which I thought was a really, I think it was very interesting. So, you were in a pretty robust group.
Yeah.
And, you had some life stuff happen and you needed a different day and a different time. And I've watched you really infuse the spirit, the collaborative spirit, and into this new group. And your presence has helped them kind of, I think, shift their mindset a little bit and begin to grow and share themselves and their networks with other people, which has attracted more people to the team. So talk a little bit about, there are networkers and there are referral marketers, word of mouth marketers. So there are people who network and then there are people who market by word of mouth. Do you see what's the shift between that, and how did you come into a group and then create that culture, that mind shift with people?
Well, first, it started with me.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that the leader should be the leader,
Mm-hmm.
and everything in that chapter starts with me. Now, I don't
Mm-hmm.
do anything, but the mindset started with me. When I went to the chapter, it had 10 members. That was not quite a year ago, but real close. It
Yeah.
was a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're up to 18. We just got the 18th one.
Whoa!
And it was really showing people what BNI really is. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they've been a long time chapter. I mean, they were like 12, 14, 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
Same people.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, because some whippersnapper comes into the chapter with a different attitude,
Mm-hmm.
I was all about the BNI agenda. I was all about doing things that made sense through BNI.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was pretty simple. Once they caught on, I'm not changing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to bring people in. I'm going to get more members. I want more people to come in for me as well as for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little at a time, even those tough cookies that really, they were there for lunch. I mean, every chapter
Sure.
had
Yeah,
somebody.
we all have, I mean, every organization, that's not endemic to a BNI chapter. That's
Oh, no,
any organization.
heavens,
It
no.
doesn't matter if you're in the Optimists or the Rotary or the PTA or,
Yep.
there are always those folks that kind of feel like maybe they paid their dues, so they don't have to do anymore because they've already done their dues. Like,
True. And
so,
even the ones that were kind of set in their ways, and it was kind of like a club, if you will,
mm-hmm,
I gave them different jobs to do.
mm-hmm,
I don't do the meeting.
right,
Everybody in the chapter does a portion of the meeting.
right,
Everybody,
right,
all 18.
right,
So since I'm letting them do it, letting them make the mistakes, letting them grow,
mm-hmm,
and really being I'm not a rah rah kind of a guy,
no,
but I'm a good cheerleader.
yeah.
I can say you did a great job, Johnny. You just spot on with that education moment, and people like to know that they're doing a good job.
You say you're not a rah rah guy, but what you are is somebody who models appreciation.
Yes,
And there's a difference between recognition and appreciation. Recognition is very public. It's come up on the stage, get a trophy. But appreciation is something that's extremely intimate and it's extremely personal. And I think the big difference, look, you know me, I'm a rah-rah girl, like, yay. And like, look at
yep,
me, give me a sash and a tiara and I'm a happy girl. Right. But I had that for years and years and years and years and still had no connection. Like I
yes,
could win, but I never felt, um, I don't know. I never felt connected. I felt alone and winning. Right. And I think one of the things that I have learned from you that I think has really, really been some of the valuable stuff is that change happens at the roots and you deal with individuals,
right,
right? And yet you let them know that they're important and that they have an important role, no matter how small it may seem to them, that without it, the team is less of a team. And that appreciation is what creates connection.
yep,
And that's what you're really good at, is you're really good at getting to the heart of connection, because winning is really fun, but it's fleeting and you win some, you lose some.
yep,
But if you're really truly connected, like, then you're connected. And that's the part that's the joy over the happiness, right?
yep,
So that's kind of,
yep.
the power of real heartfelt appreciation, I think, is something that you're speaking to. And you've been able to increase connection, not only connections that were there, but increase connectivity by attracting other people that are like, I want to be appreciated. I want
And
somebody
it's
to say
funny because
thank you.
they all do. They all
Mhm.
want to be appreciated,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
And they'll go out of their way to let you know that they did something too.
Yeah.
If you don't do it right then and there, it's going to be more, they'll do something to be recognized no matter what it is, good or bad.
Right.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but
Right.
they like the recognition.
Yep. And I had somebody say to me the other day, they're like, I know you're trying to make me feel good, but love bombs don't work. Could we have coffee? It's
Yep,
like,
yep.
yeah, let's do coffee. Like, no problem, right? But they're like, yeah, that love bombing thing. You know me, I'm love bombing all over the place. But I thought it was great. It was, I mean, and I loved getting that feedback that, you know, love bombs aren't for everybody. So sometimes it just needs to be a whisper and a cup of coffee that makes the difference, which is
And
great.
sometimes it's just a cup of coffee.
Right. So, Hank, you know, you've taken networking, if you will, to another level that has also, as you know, inspired me, because just like in sales, you can go get them, right? Up and adamant, you can chase the leads and chase down the referral, chase down prospects, or you can, you know, be seductive enough that people come and go, what is it that you sell? What is
Mm-hmm.
that? Right? That looks interesting. So you can be really interesting or you can go get it. And I feel like there's this other level. If you go from prospect to sales, right? There's this other level in the referral thing. There's a way to be sexy and magnetic without having to go to events, like event.
Yep.
So you know what I'm talking about. So talk a little bit about how you've extended your network without having to run all over town and be a networking fiend.
Well, there's a thing called network your network. I'm not sure where I heard that, but that's where would I have heard that? That's really kind of what I do. I actually, inside my network, which is all of St. Louis, all of Jefferson County, all the places that I go. I don't go to Illinois, but if I did, that would be a great place to use the network.
Yep.
I try to let people know within my network what I'm looking for outside of my network. Now I do a couple of events myself. I mean, I
That's
have
what I wanted to talk about because I think that's some genius stuff.
well, it's so much easier to bring them to you than try to go to every single marketing place.
Right.
If there's a networking thing that I have to go to down in Kirkwood or wherever, I have to go there. But if you have your own, and it's so easy to start your own networking event, and it's an event. I invite the people that I want in my room. I like real estate agents.
Of course you
but
do.
I'll take a lot of other people as well. But I started one here in actually in Chesterfield, and slowly but surely it caught on. When I was able to say, by the way, Virginia, that there's a meetup group that Virginia has, and it's called Hank Yourself Thursday, because that's the one that I do in Chesterfield.
Right.
More people came because they wanted to know
what was that about?
Different. What's different about this, because it's got Virginia's stamp on it. She said it was okay. Well, it is okay anyway, because you should be networking outside your network. And then I did one, or I've been with one for about 6 years now, called Drinks and Links out in Cottleville, Missouri. And that turned out to be primarily real estate agents, insurance agents, all the people that you really need in a room for me to make money.
Right.
But I bring them to me. I don't go to most events. I go to mine, and it just turned out extremely well. Because if I don't
talk,
go ahead.
I want to back you up just a minute.
Okay.
How did you set it up? Like, walk people, like, I want to set up my own value added, casual contact networking opportunity.
Sure.
Talk a little bit about so somebody's listening and they want to do what you're doing in Oklahoma or out in, I'm in 27 countries or something. So there's people all over the world, right? What kind of step 1, step 2, step 3, walk everybody through how you set up
Okay.
drinks and links.
Okay. Step number 1, we had to take a look at the area, find a place to have it. That was really an important one. We had to really take a look at the area, what we were trying to get accomplished. We wrote it out. We knew what we were trying to do with it. And once we had the plan, then we had, once we had the plan, we had to work the plan. And then we advertised through Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, email. I mean, we did a lot of education so people knew we were there. Once we got the small group coming, and they said, that wasn't bad at all. Well, then you expand your emails to more people. You expand your Facebook. You expand the event on Facebook.
Are you buying ads? Are you buying ads?
No, I haven't bought nothing.
You're not buying ads. So you're just
nothing.
Getting people to share, requesting that people share. So that's the network thing, right? Is to make a promotion request.
Right. Right. And if you make it an event on Facebook, for example, people can see it if you share it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you went to my Facebook page now, you'll still see the event for Drinks and Links for December.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just a matter of using what's available. Now, not that I'm cheap, although I am. I saw no reason to spend money to advertise.
Yeah. Well, again, if you can get it organically, and you've been around BNI long enough that you got 15 years worth of connections and you've built a database and that sort of thing. So I think some of this advice, I suppose you could do it if you were like a super brand new, like networker. And I'm going to suggest that it's actually better if you've got a little bit of teeth. One of the things I know that's really important about this topic is that you've got to have a hook. You've got to have an uncommon commonality. So for Hank, it's like, hey, if you're in real estate, come here. And I don't know if this is a hook. If I were going to do it, I would invite a bunch of real estate agents to bring their listings and work together. Like, hey, let's get these buyers and these sellers matched up more quickly because I got buyers, you got sellers. There's some of that going on, right? Which is why I think Anne Aranda originally had done the Wind Down Thursday. It was right. For her as a real estate agent, she wanted all those people coming to her so she could see what the listings were, so she didn't have to work so darn hard to go take her buyers. And she wanted to bring the buyers agents to her to be like, here's my listings. Like she's no dummy, that Anne Aranda. So you want to have some sort of a hook, right? So we're doing one that's millennial, right? It's the millennial business pros or millennial sales professionals meetup. And we're putting that under the Bi-State Business Owners meetup. So kind of holding all kinds of different specialty events that go under one big umbrella, which is where we pulled you in. So anybody who's listening, as you're thinking about your venue, before you do that, you want to think about who's your target, who's your best center of influence that you just want to surround yourself with, and then become an advocate for that specific profession or industry, and make sure that you're inviting lots of people that they would want to meet and that could help them, and where it becomes an area of knowledge exchange. And the point of it is to exchange knowledge, wisdom, experience, and resources, not get referrals.
Right.
So that's the other thing. So if you're doing it, you're going to get referrals, but that's because you're bringing together wisdom, experience, resources, and knowledge for people to kind of glom onto, if you will. So let me see if I have this right so far. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to nichetize. You're going to figure out, who do you want in the room? Financial services professionals, personal services professionals, real estate and trade professionals, marketing and branding professionals. Like, who do you want in the room? That's number one. Number two is find a venue where those people like to hang out.
Right.
Because if you're, for example, in our city, if you're going to do financial services professionals, you got to be in Clayton. You got to have a venue.
Correct.
In Clayton, or maybe out in Chesterfield, but Clayton is the big, that's the big financial hubby place. And that's where all the financial services professionals, the lawyers, CPAs, they'll all go there because that makes sense to them, right? So you got to know where your people are going to hang out. Some of the uncommon commonality about your folks at Drinks and Links is they like beer.
Yes.
And you're at a place that has good beer.
Yes.
Right? So what do they like? So where do you hang out? Third thing is use your existing network to say, hey, I'm putting this thing together. I'd really appreciate it. You'd show up and bring 3 people.
Right.
Put it out on social media. Facebook Live it from the event. Use Instagram for photos, whatever you're doing there. Do a Facebook event. Ask for people to share it. And then you kept saying slow but sure. Slow but sure, which means the first time you do it, it's going to suck.
Yep.
Like the first time you do it, if it's you and 3 people for dinner, that was a good day.
Yes.
And you can't beat yourself up, right? How?
Nope,
what's the worst?
No.
What's the worst one that you ever did? Like, were the first ones like really small and demoralizing?
The very first Hank Yourself Thursday, we only had 6 people show up. I had invited like 80.
Oh my gosh.
But 6 people showed up. Now it was raining. I can't blame it on the rain. They just didn't know what the heck Hank Yourself Thursday was.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started marketing it a little bit differently. It was like, come network with Hank.
Mm-hmm.
Meet the people, the professionals you need to make in your contacts.
Mm-hmm.
So the second one was a whole lot better. It was almost triple that. And we just kept getting better and better at it. And people started seeing a value in coming, just have a beer, talk a little bit. This last one we talked about business, how to help this insurance guy actually get a better piece of the market. Just because we were talking. We were just talking. So it's getting better, and only because you keep working. You don't stop. You just keep working at it.
So let me ask you this next question, Hank. So, there's 6 people or 8 people or 12 people, and some of them some of them you don't. What's your follow-up in between, like from December to January? What's your follow-up look like with folks that show up? I mean, do you have a system for that? Because obviously, the cash flow is always in the follow-up. The fun is always in the follow-up.
Yeah.
So what's the follow-up look like?
For me, most people text anymore. They don't make phone calls.
Right.
So I text every single person that showed up. Just want to thank you, invite you back, and maybe we can make an introduction for you next month that's even better.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have that follow-up. Now, Drinks and Links, we send them an email. Hank Yourself, we do a text.
Okay.
Drinks and Links, we follow up. Probably 90% of the people that show up get an email afterwards. We used a automatic free survey to each one of the people that showed up. I'm not even sure I know the name of it now.
It's probably SurveyMonkey.
Yeah, that's it. SurveyMonkey.
Yeah, so because SurveyMonkey, they have like a free where you can send it out to a small number of people, and you can ask up to maybe 5 questions or whatever. So that's great. What kind of questions were on your survey?
Well, the first couple was, did you enjoy coming? Did you meet somebody that you really needed to meet? Are you willing to come back and meet more people that are even going to help you more. Let's see, what was the fourth one? We only did 4.
Would you bring a friend?
Oh, that's it. Yeah, thank you. It's like you saw my survey. And the last one was, when you come back next time, please bring a friend, or would you bring a friend?
Mm-hmm.
And then they can go yes, yes, no, yes. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's just really simple.
Right.
So we still, after we did the Survey Monkey, we still sent them an email,
Mm-hmm.
just to follow up. Survey Monkey's kind of a non-person kind of thing.
Right. Right.
I called some, we emailed almost everybody. The phone calls, most people aren't going to be around when you call them, so you got to leave messages. But
I wonder if the messages, though, I mean, when you leave a message and you say, I just wanted to thank you for coming. If I can be of any service, please feel free to reach out to me. I tell people all the time just to put, like, I say, hi, it's Virginia. So glad, whatever. And you know what? This is my cell phone number. So put me in your cell phone. So if you ever need me, you can just text me. And so I literally give people permission to get back to me, to be able to connect. So, but I think the follow-up is really, really important. I love the survey idea because if they say like, no, I don't want to come back, then you can do conditional logic and say why, like,
right.
What can we do to make it better? Would you bring a friend? No. Why? You know, whatever that is, you can get some of that information. And I think that can be very useful. So, all right. So this is really great, Hank, because you have kind of given people a lot of value here, talking about the importance of appreciation, the importance of patience and persistence. Your ability to network and like a boss did not happen overnight. You've been working on this for a decade and a half, right?
Right. Right.
Because you got sick and tired of knocking on doors. And let's face it, who wants the 3% that you can get that are actively like, yay, I needed a home inspector, versus the 67% of people that are procrastinating, in denial, or they're unconscious. They just don't know that they need a home inspector, right? They don't know that they need that on their team, or they don't know that someone like you is out there, right? So I'll go for the 67% any day, but the only way you can do it is this sort of slow and steady climb. I think people want a fast solution. They join BNI, they think they're going to go to 2 meetings and get referrals, and they don't. And then they're like, this BNI thing doesn't work.
Yep.
It does. You just have to keep your commitments long enough over time for people to believe that you keep your commitments over time. So it's never the blazing flash of glory. It's all the little things that you did to get there in the first place that make you successful, right?
Correct. Yep.
All right,
Absolutely.
Hank. So we're coming up on the end of this interview. First question: the most important piece of advice you could give someone who is brand new to the networking scene?
I would suggest that they go to many, or at least several, networking events, including BNI, and meet as many people as you can, because that's where your money's going to come from. People are afraid to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Lose the fright.
Lose the fear.
Yep. And just go do it.
And
kind of like Nike, just do it.
Just do it, right? And I'll say, that is great advice. You got to get out. But the reason people are afraid is because they're going with a getter's heart, a taker's heart, instead of a giver's heart. So one of my best pieces of advice is, every couple of weeks, dedicate time each day to reading a great business book, or listening to a great audio, or reading from entrepreneur.com, Forbes.com, and have something interesting to talk about, or a piece of advice or information that you can offer people, so that you go in with a giver's heart. You don't have to give up your network, but you can give up information, resources, wisdom, experience, genuine kindness. You can give that away. So give from your heart first, and get out there and do it. And just know that that's one of the big things that make people very popular. It is why Mr. Hank Jardine is an incredibly popular guy, because he comes around and goes around, and everywhere Hank goes, there you see 10 miles before you arrive, Hank, you see the giver's heart. And that's really huge. So
I
speaking of
appreciate that.
giving,
Yes.
you know that I like to introduce the people I meet to the people they need to know. And I love a challenge.
Yes.
So who's somebody, preferably living, I'll channel the dead if I have to, but it's exhausting and takes a lot of time. But somebody out there that is on your bucket list of people that you'd really like to have a beer with, a cocktail with, lunch with, and you'd love to get to know their story.
Well, believe it or not, it's something simple. Jay Phillips is a fantastic real estate agent. Jay Phillips is a very successful real estate agent, and I already know he's got somebody who does his inspections.
Yep.
I don't ask for his inspection. If I could just talk to him one-on-one over a cup of coffee, tea, beer, preferably beer, I would love to have that opportunity.
All right. Well, I'm working on that one for you. So when we get that done, I get a big cha-ching in my I did it portfolio. So look, my baby just came in. Megan, come here. Come here, Meg. Bring the baby. She's in the door. She's shy.
Oh, come on, Megan.
I know. Anyway, here she comes. He has no clothes on. That's okay. Here's my grandbaby, everybody. Yay.
Cute. Very, very cute.
Isn't he handsome?
Kid.
All right. So
Absolutely.
we're on a podcast. You can't all see him, but my beautiful daughter just popped in my office and my beautiful baby grandson popped in my office. So we're getting ready to sign off because I got to do Gigi duty. And Hank Jardine, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I know that our listeners are going to get so much value out of what you had to share. And hey, I've got an offer for everybody. If you want even more value, you can download the first chapter of my new book, Referral Alchemy. It's coming out soon, and you can get that at masterconnectors.com/ebook. So masterconnectors.com/ebook, and you can download the very first chapter of my new book, Referral Alchemy, 6 proven steps you need to turn your network into gold. So thank you, Hank Jardine, for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
We are recording this in December, so happy holidays, everybody. I know somebody's going to be listening to it in like June and be like, there's no holidays.
Say what?
But anyway, we're recording in December. Happy holidays, everybody, from the Referral Diva and Hank Jardine, Mr. Networker, Home Inspector, Personal Advisory Board member himself. And until we all meet again back on the Business by Referral podcast, go out and be remarkable.
Thank you.